week, we are going to take a break from our regular scheduled program. So instead of doing our regular art Monday through Thursday like normal with our different categories, we're going to just set that aside for this week, and we are going to do a special book study. Yes, you heard it right, book study. Now we're going to take a book that you've read in class, in your humanities class specifically, and we're going to use that to create a art project. And that art project is going to take up all 4 days this week. I've broken it down into sections so you can follow along and do one part each day. Most of the time, you're going to need things to dry in between one day and the next. So even if you decide to crunch it together and do it in one sitting, you might have to wait a little bit in there to let things dry before going on to the next step. Just keep that in mind. So here we go. Today, part 1. You ready? Let's go. All right, we're going to do your project based on the book, The Farmer Boy. Woo woo! And we cannot do Farmer Boy without drawing a cow. So we're going to need your paint pad. So a piece of paper that you can draw and paint on. So a little bit thicker than a regular piece of drawing paper would be great. And you're going to need your pencil and eraser today. And that's it. We're going to hold our paper horizontally because our cow is wider than he is tall. Okay, so keep it this way. And we want to fill the majority of that paper up. So please don't draw teeny tiny. We're going to start with a head up here in the top left-hand corner and then draw the body off to the right. And of course, he needs to have his legs on the paper. So just pay attention to scale. Try to copy me. All right, we're going to start with the top of his head, which looks kind of like a really flat rainbow. And then we're going to go down here to his muzzle, like where his nose and mouth are. And that's just a little U, a really flat U. And now we need to connect these two things. So the head goes wider. That's right where that bone is, like his jawbone. So it goes out a little bit, flares out, and there's a curve. See that? And then from here, we can just go around, and it's gonna scoop over and connect because the mouth is a lot more narrow than the head, the top part. All right, I made that just a little too curvy. I don't like it. So you do the same thing as you work. If there's something that you think just is off or you're not happy with it, now is the time to change it when we're working in pencil. And we're going to put in ears. So let's go up here to the ears. This is going to be a curve. It's going to come down and flip back around and gets tiny where it attaches. I might have made that a little too tiny. I might bulk that up later on. But for now, I'm just worried about this shape. Comes down and connects. All right, looking good. It's starting to look like a cow. And then we're going to see the tops of the ears. They flip over, they fold over. And so the bottom part would be like the inner part of the ear. And up here, we're going to have some little horns. Okay, let's move down here and let's go ahead and put a line in that kind of separates that little pink part. And this is where his eyes go, right where this little part juts out and creates that eye bone, goes into like the jaw. That's where his eyes belong. So 2 little circles for now will be just fine. Let's go ahead and add some nostrils. These are almost tear-shaped. You could make them round if you want to, but I like that little tail on the end. And then here's that bottom part of the jaw I was talking about earlier. Just another little smile. Perfect. Look, we have a cow head. We are off to a good start. Okay, time to do the body. Let's go right here, right about where his mouth is. And we're going to come down. This is going to be his chest. We're going to swoop around. And then he's very round at the chest and then gets more narrow right around where the stomach is. And then we're going to loop around to create his backside and his back. And that's going to come up here and just kind of disappear up here behind his head. It almost looks like a peanut or a guitar on its side, that kind of shape. Now up here in front, we need to take care of his front leg. So we're going to put in a curved line in the front, just like that. And then on the back side, it's going to curve in the opposite direction, just like that. From there, this curves out a little bit on both sides. And you're going to come down just a little ways, and then we're creating the joint. This would be, I'm going to call it his knee. I'm sure that's not the proper term for it, but that joint there. And obviously his leg is not see-through, so I'm going to need to get rid of the line that shows his chest. All right, so it's thicker, gets narrow, bumps out, creates that knee joint so he can move, he can bend. And then we're going to go back almost straight down on both sides. It gets more narrow. And then we're going to have to jut this out and create the hoof. So I'm going to draw a little bit of a diagonal line. And then the bottom is going to come down and the front is going to go out a little bit further. And then I'm just going to close it up with a little bit of a curved line. Okay, second leg. This leg is on the other side of his body. So I'm going to make this a little bumpier. I'm going to trim that down just a little bit. It was a little too round. And these are the things you're looking for, little details to sort of change and make him look as good as you can. Now this leg is on the other side. We want it to be the same shape, but it's going to be a little shorter, just a little. Don't go crazy. So it's going to be right around there. So the bottom will be up a little bit higher, and that shows that it's in the back. So same kind of shape. We're going to come down. We're going to create that little knob, the straight part, and flare out to create the hoof. There we go, looking good. Okay, and everything on that back leg should be just slightly higher than the front leg. That's telling us that it is further away from us, which would make sense since it is on the other side of our cow. Okay, the knobby knee and up and behind the body. Voila! Excellent! He has 2 legs. Looks really good. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the back side of our cow. So obviously he's going to have 2 more legs here in the back, and these are slightly larger, like the hip joint is bigger back here. So let's go ahead and we'll start back here. I feel like I made him a little too round, so I'm going to take off a little bit of this body that I made back here. All right, that looks better. It was just a little too bulky. So for this back leg, we're going to do the same basic shape where it starts out and comes in, and then we have a knee joint, a leg joint, and it gets a little more narrow and comes down to the bottom. So it's going to be important for this leg to match the same leg that's on the same side. So you want to figure out where that hoof should be. If you go directly over from the one we already made, that'll tell you where it should be. You don't want it to be longer or shorter. They should be about the same. And I am struggling with this line. Let me fix this a little bit. All right, that's better. And the front is going to have that little curve. that little line, that little diagonal line, curved line, and then it's going to go back straight up until I hit the joint, and then I've got the joint, and then it's going to come out, and this one's going to flare out a little bit more than that front leg. It's like I said, the place where it connects gets thicker. Kind of like how our thighs are thicker than our upper arms, huh? Okay, so it's going to come swooping around in a bigger curve up at the top. Okay. Yep, and again, our leg is not see-through, so let's go ahead and get rid of the lines that we do not need so we don't get confused. All right, that looks good. Very good. And now we need to do that leg that's on the far side. So everything's lining up. Two front ones line up, so that means the back ones need to line up as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little marker in for myself that lines up with that front paw, so I know exactly where that hoof is going to end. And it's going to come out, we're going to have udders right here though. So we're not going to draw it all the way up into the body. Let's put our udder in first. The udder is just going to be a nice curved line. And then of course we have to add these little things, because this is a farm, so this is a dairy cow. So we have two on this side, and then we want some on the other side that you would still see. So we're going to go ahead and put just a couple showing from the other side as well. And they're going to be shorter, just like our hooves are shorter. Those ones are going to be a little higher as well. All right, he's looking really, really good. All right, let's go back to our leg. All right, back here to the bottom. I know where to end it at, and I want it to mimic this leg I already drew. So it's going to come out from right about here. We're going to have that knob again. It's going to go straight and curve out to make the hoof. The bottom's a little bit curved. On this side, I've got that narrow part. And I'm gonna make it move out here to the bottom of the hoof. There we go. Get that little curve right. Put in the hoof line. That sounds funny, hoof line. And from there, I'm going to put in that little knob and have that leg go back out at a diagonal and disappear back there behind the udder. All right, that looks pretty good. Okay, now he does have a little tail. So let's go ahead and put that in. That's going to jut right off the back of this curve. You just follow it and bump it out just a little bit. And I love animals like this. They have tails that look like paintbrushes. So they're kind of fun to draw. And there it is. So you've got the skinny part of the tail and then the little bristly hairs at the end, which look like a paintbrush tip. Excellent. Okay, now we have a few things that we want to add to make sure this is a farm and this is a milk cow. The first thing we're going to add is a stool. Let's go ahead and draw a little ellipse or an oval up here, because stools in general are round and we're seeing it from the side. So that's going to be an ellipse. And then from here, We're going to give a little edge to it. And let's go ahead and add in 3 legs to our stool. Just round the bottom. One's going to go out from the left side, one's going to go out from the right side, about the same angle. And then the 3rd leg, we're going to go ahead and put in the back. And this will be shorter. Remember, just like the cow leg was shorter, that one's going to be shorter because it's going to show that it's further away from us. Awesome. Next, let's move over onto this side and let's go ahead and put in the bucket that they're going to use to collect the milk. We just need 2 vertical lines kind of coming down. The bucket's going to be bigger on the top and get a little more narrow towards the bottom. And let's go ahead and round the bottom. Do that same kind of curve here at the top. And then the opening to the bucket is also going to be an ellipse because it is a circle if you look straight down on it. I'm going to add a little decorative line in here in the middle. And then finish that bucket off up here. And then most likely there will be a handle on our bucket. So I'm going to make a little oval shape. That's going to be where the handle attaches, one on each side of the bucket. And then I'm going to make that handle that's going to wrap down and around. It needs to have a curve to it. It's going to curve and go around and disappear behind the back side of the bucket. All right, looking good. We've got our cow, we've got our bucket, we have our stool. Definitely says farm, right? So now we need our horizon line. So remember, a horizon line is where the land and the sky meet, or it could be the corner of the barn, where the floor of the barn meets the wall of the barn. Up to you. But we need a horizon line for sure, and it goes behind all of these objects. And you don't want it to be super straight because this isn't man-made. This is, ground, but a little wobble in there, but try to keep it as straight as you can. And now you get to make some choices. You get to decide what you want behind your cow. The questions, it could be outside. You could add a fence. You could add hills in the distance, a sun. Maybe your cow is on the inside of the barn, so you want to do wood planks in the background. You can choose to do your background however you would like to. Just remember that the cow is the focus of the painting. So don't start adding a whole bunch of animals or other things. We want the focus, the subject of our painting to be the cow. Don't try to put people in here or, add a cat. This is just about the cow. So we're just looking for a background that will kind of fade into the back and bring your attention to the cow. So don't get super detailed and super complicated back there. All right, great job today. I will see you tomorrow and we will continue with part 2. Bye.